My name is Reverend T. Sheri Amore Dickerson, and I am with the Black Lives Matter chapter of Oklahoma City. Speaking about I'll start with the relationship of BLM as an organization to the government. It's not where it should be. There have been a lot of promises made to gain support from our organizations and other organizations that do racial justice work and civil rights work, and that's simply to garner the support they need to get into office. And then they do what they always do to Black and brown people. They discard, they disrespect, and literally try to destroy the power that we have actually achieved. So the government is continually to be hypocrites in speaking about their relationship, and they won't even say or acknowledge that Black Lives Matter. The organization as a whole is going through a transition, like many new organizations do. So you have a certain sector that is wanting to focus more on political advocacy, which is necessary, but chapters like the Oklahoma City chapter and several others that deal with consistent civil rights and human rights violations of Black and brown people, we're focusing on grassroots organizing, advocacy from the most human perspective, and amassing the power of the people. Without that, we feel like there is no movement. And in 2022, we're still experiencing first as Afro-descendants and Black people, as indigenous people. We're focusing on that work from that perspective. We feel like that's what's most necessary, and is going to be most beneficial for all people. And we're also focusing on international solidarity and connecting all of our families in the United States with all of our families abroad, because there are Black people everywhere. And so we say all Black Lives Matter. There is an all too familiar and relatable process to what is happening, what happened then to what's still happening in so many spaces, including the United States. When those in power abuse their levels of power and neglect the will of the people, that is when you see coups happen. That is when you see the worst crimes of humanity. But it's also when you see the rise of communities from all over saying that you're not going to literally take away our voice, our vote, or our rights. So it's very humbling to be a part of the process that is still doing it here 20 years later. It is a privilege and an honor for us to be able to participate, and hopefully we'll be able to take this to other countries as well as back home, and we'll see actual solidarity and unity amongst all people of color. And the criminalization of a person or a people or even an organization that speaks truth to power, that tries to work within the parameters of democracy and diplomacy, is long-standing to be disrupted and disregarded. And literally, they try to dismantle the systems of people power. They try to, and not only they try, they successfully destroy the person, the family, the community, that are just standing on what is right, what is ethical, and really take away the heart of what every living human should actually uphold. And that's simply that if I see you, if you are a living being, then you are my neighbor, then you are my family. But we certainly see more of a disparity towards people of color. When our white allies speak up, they're listened to differently. So we do have those that give voice to what's happening, but they don't take seriously the types of things that are said when we're simply saying there is no reason why Alex Saab or all of those that sit in the same position that he and his family does should ever see the inside of a prison cell, should ever be incarcerated or detained for any reason. Certainly we are aware that the atrocities of torture and mental anguish which are being cast upon them, which the Geneva Convention protects us from, we're seeing that our own country is participating in doing those types of crimes. So I can't speak enough to how much we have to stay committed to speaking out for our government and all of those, because it's not just the government. We know that there are many other factions that are behind this as well, many of those that are more affluent and have the money and the resources. It's interesting to me how my country and my government even defines refugee. Over 20 years ago, when there was a natural disaster of a hurricane in New Orleans, there were American citizens who were displaced. And the media and the government began referring to their own citizens as refugees. But these were poor Black and brown persons, and even white people who did not have money and didn't have resources. That's how they defined refugee. And it was acceptable to not offer assistance to people who literally were born in their own country. So the definition of refugee is very different if you're in non-melanated skin. We're watching our country, and this is from the lens of Black and indigenous people who are watching white people all over our country and abroad advocate for Ukrainians. And it continues in 2022, and our government is willing to bring in over 100,000 Ukrainian refugees when they would turn away 37,000 Haitian people. They turned away, they put up walls at a border for people who were simply seeking safety and protections from a country that says that we will harbor those that need those things. So it is so much more than hypocrisy. All of the words that come to my mind are all profane and probably not appropriate to say in this moment. But I'm always like, I am not an advocate or supporter of the NATO systems. I think